I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 135. The Second World War part 4. That is on the page 50, are we? While doing leg Pilates, and if you participate in the leg Pilates, that is at your own risk, and the subject is war and the Second World War. Let's go to the first exercise. We are bringing one leg up. We have a straight leg. The leg is straight. I'm not sure how much I'm looking at the view. You have a straight leg out, and when you have a flexed foot, and you just lift the leg up, and again down in the middle. Don't put the leg down. Just lift it up, and again down, flexed foot. So at the same time as the British military was defending Britain, it was also fighting in many different other parts. And Singapore fell to the Japanese. So the Japanese, the Empire of Japan, defeated the British troops fighting in Singapore and then occupied also Burma. But I'm not sure where Burma is. And that threatened India. The United States entered then after the Japanese troops had attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941. I need the map basically. So Pearl Harbor is in the middle of the Pacific, and there's a huge Navy station of the United States in 1941, and also today still. And the Japanese, they were attacking them out of nothing, out of the blue, completely. They were attacking them on a morning, and they made great destruction. Many people died, but the United States then erased from that. That same year, so 1941, Hitler attempted the largest invasion in history by attacking the Soviet Union. And we're changing the leg, the other leg, after the flexed foot. We're bringing the leg a bit up and back in the middle. We're not putting the leg down. So then in 1941, I don't know the dates, but they said 1941, Hitler, so the Nazi Germany's attacked the Soviet Union. Hitler and Stalin, so the leader of Nazi Germany and the leader of the Soviet Union, had made a contract before the war had started. And in that they had signed that they will not attack each other. That we work together and that we will not attack each other. And that was why the Soviet Union, I said we were on the side of Germany. They were not on the side of Nazi Germany, but they were attacking together Poland, and we were not attacking each other. When in 1941 Hitler invaded the Soviet Union, and now it's going on, it was a fierce conflict with huge losses on both sides. So very many German soldiers died, and also very, very, very many Soviet soldiers died. It was a fierce conflict with huge losses on both sides. German forces were ultimately repelled by the Soviets, and the damage they sustained proved to be a pivotal point in the war. I don't know what it is. And we're having the leg straight out, and we're bringing it in a bit. I don't know how to describe that movement. And we're having a flexed foot. So the German forces lost the war against the Soviet Union. They were repelled. And that was a pivotal point in the war. I guess they mean that was a turning point in the war. What does that mean? The Royal Air Force helped to defeat Britain in the Second World War. To defend. The Royal Air Force helped to defend Britain in the Second World War. We're having a picture of some pilots running to the Royal Air Force Spitfires and Hurricanes. I don't know the planes, but we use them. I can't show it, I know. And here on the top left of you, there's Winston Churchill. I don't know what to say. Of course. So the Royal Air Force helped to defend Britain in the Second World War. Yes. So Nazi Germany attacked the other leg and flexed foot into. Bring it in. Did attack the Soviet Union, but they did not win. They lost under heavy losses for both sides. The Allied forces gradually gained the upper hand, winning significant victories in North Africa and Italy. So the Allied forces, now also joined by the Soviet Union and the United States, gradually gained the upper hand. They got stronger than Germany, and they won significant battles in North Africa and Italy. So the German troops, Italy was at the beginning of the war part of the Axis. It changed a couple of times during the war, but Italy was part of the Axis, and the landed where but we are just no. We're 1944. We're there. In 1943, the American troops landed, and I think pretty sure Allied forces landed on Sicily, and they fought through Italy liberated Italy. And also North Africa, there were great victories by the Allied forces and the German troops lost. Now we're bringing one leg up and we're bringing it to the outside and into the outside. German losses in the Soviet Union, combined with the support of the Americans, meant that the Allies were eventually strong enough to attack Hitler's forces in Western Europe. So Germany had lost many soldiers in the Soviet Union. And because the Americans were not supporting, the United States were supporting the Allied forces, they were able to attack Germany, or the occupied territory of Germany, which is France in this case. On the 6th June 1944, Allies forces landed in the Normandy. This event is often referred to as D-Day. So the D-Day technically means just it's the starting point. It's the day when the time had counted down and which is the starting point. But it's when people are speaking of a D-Day, they mean the 6th June 1944. And on that day, we're changing the leg, the Allied forces landed in the Normandy in France. And yes, they were strong enough and started to liberate France. Following victory on the beaches of Normandy, the Allied forces pressed on through France and eventually into Germany. So they first fought through France and then they pushed into Germany. The Allies comprehensively defeated Germany in May 1945. I don't know what comprehensively means, but whatever it means, Germany lost in May 1945, actually, one could say earlier. On the 8th May 1945, the Second World War ended. So the Allies comprehensively defeated Germany in May 1945. Hitler died already in April, so when was Germany defeated? The Allies comprehensively defeated Germany in May 1945. I mean that because they're saying when it was Germany defeated, and not when the war ended, which is technically, because the war end is in May 1945, Germany officially lost and the Allies won. The war against Japan ended in August 1945 when the United States dropped its newly developed atom bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As I said, we're talking about the Second World War. And we're talking now about the Pacific War, which is part of the Second World War, partly. And now we're doing the next exercise. Yes, one more like this. We are having one, we bring one leg up, we bring it to the outside, tapping the floor, bringing it in, tapping again the floor. So they haven't really explained the Pacific War here. It's understandable why. But the Pacific War already started 2 years before the Second World War started. And the main part of it, there was more going on. Japanese had imperialistic ambitions with Japan, and they were attacking, like Germany, their neighbors, China and here Singapore, Burma, and so on. And the war in the Pacific lasted 3 months longer than in Europe. And when in 1945 the United States of America dropped an atom bomb on Hiroshima, and then 6 days later or a week later, a second one on Nagasaki. And the atom bomb, I think you know of it, but I can't assume anything. And now we're changing my leg, the other leg up, point of the foot. It's a very strong bomb, and they were flying with planes over the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then they had thrown these bombs up. It was just one on each of the cities, but it was an atom bomb, so a very strong bomb, and it creates a fireball, and it killed over 100,000 people in both cities directly, and in both cities more than 100,000 died then, because an atom bomb is made on basically the physics, not just with chemics, and that creates some radiation. Like if you go into the sun for the whole day, you get a sunburn, something like that. This bomb makes radiation, and this radiation hits the body. The people die. If they got a lot, they die within minutes or days. If they got a little less, they die maybe 50 years later. So the bomb directly killed 100,000 people in both cities, and then more people died for that. And because the Americans had these weapons, the Japanese said that they had lost the war. And now we are doing the last exercise. We're doing a 1-minute plank in 10 seconds. So in 6, and starting with plank. Scientists led by New Zealand-born Ernst Rutherford, working at Manchester and then Cambridge University, were the first to split. We're explaining the atom bomb here, actually. It's very important. Scientists led by the New Zealand-born Ernst Rutherford. So Ernst Rutherford, he worked at Manchester and then at Cambridge University. Isaac Newton was at Cambridge University. And some British scientists went on to take part in the Manhattan Project in the United States, which developed the atomic bomb. The war was finally over. So, also some British scientists. So, Ernst Rutherford worked on to split an atom. And he was in Manchester and also at Cambridge University. And some British scientists. 3, 2, 1, and that we're done with the leg Pilates training or something. Pilates leg. And some British people went to the United States, and there were scientists working and in a militaristic way on building these atom bomb, which is basically on splitting an atom. I don't know exactly, but the atom splits, and that creates an enormous explosion. And we worked on developing the atomic bomb. And now we're writing the sentence, the war was finally over. The war was finally over when Japan... In Europe it was over on the 8th May 1945. In Japan then after the 2 atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So with that the Second World War had ended. And we're through with the chapter, or with the part, Second World War, which was part of the 20th century. So the whole section has been named the 20th century. And we're now through with it, and we're with the Second World War. But we're having a couple of questions, but before we're doing that, we're having Alexander Fleming. So we're having another person, we're going to do it in the next part. Let's just make at the end the quotes of Winston Churchill we're having here. So in his first speech to the House of Commons after he became the Prime Minister in 1940, included one line, and that was, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat." And then, after the evocation of Dunkirk, he said to the House of Commons, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." And then, during the Battle of Britain, he said to the House of Commons, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much out by so many to so few." And with that, thank you very much, and until the next time.